The echo of her own footsteps seemed unnaturally loud in the empty dorm room. Jean ran a hand over the rough texture of the cinder block wall, a stark contrast to the familiar, well-worn stone of the X-Mansion. After graduating from Xavier's, a quiet decision had been made, not entirely by her, but for her. Her parents, understandably concerned for her safety and perhaps longing for a shred of normalcy for their daughter, had insisted on a different path. And so, here she was, at Metro College. There was a strange allure to this new beginning, a chance, perhaps, to breathe a little, to step back from the constant threat, the weighty responsibility that came with being an X-Man. The Xavier's Institute had been her home, her family, her battleground, but also a crucible of relentless pressure. For a time, the idea of attending lectures, studying for exams, and experiencing a typical college life held a certain appeal. It was a world she hadn't truly known, a brief glimpse into an ordinary existence. Life at Metro quickly took on its own rhythm. Days were filled with classes, late-night study sessions in the library, and the unexpected camaraderie of new friends who knew nothing of Sentinels or Magneto. Then came the modeling offer. It started almost by accident, a campus photographer spotting her in the quad, intrigued by her striking features. Soon, she found herself balancing textbooks with photo shoots, fashion shows with term papers. It was a demanding, glamorous world, utterly disconnected from the heroic life she'd known. The lights, the cameras, the fleeting attention, it was a different kind of performance, a different kind of mask. Yet, even as she delved into this new life, a part of her remained tethered to the old. She wasn't entirely cut off. She remained a part-time X-Man, answering the call when the need was truly dire. These brief, intense missions were a jarring contrast to her college existence. One moment, she was discussing literary theory. The next, she was telekinetically lifting debris, coordinating with Scott and Bobby, her powers humming with a familiar, vital energy. She would return from these skirmishes, often covered in dust or emotionally drained, and slip back into her dorm room, the lingering scent of ozone quickly replaced by the mundane aroma of instant coffee. This dual life began to create a profound internal conflict. On one hand, there was the comfort of anonymity, the simple pleasure of a quiet evening, the genuine thrill of excelling in her studies, of mastering a new pose for a camera. Her parents' hopes for her seemed to be manifesting. But beneath it all, a hollow ache persisted. The purpose, the immediate, undeniable impact of her X-Men missions was missing from her daily life. The small triumphs of academic achievement, while satisfying, felt diminished compared to the overwhelming stakes of saving lives, of protecting a world that often hated and feared her kind. She missed the camaraderie, the shared glances of understanding with her teammates. She missed the intensity, the feeling of being precisely where she was meant to be, using her extraordinary abilities for an extraordinary cause. The intellectual challenges of college, the creative demands of modeling, couldn't quite fill that void. And then there was Scott. Their communication during this period was a delicate dance of restraint and longing. Phone calls were carefully worded, letters filled with unsaid emotions. During those brief X-Men encounters, their eyes would meet across the battlefield, a silent understanding passing between them, a recognition of a shared history, a profound connection that transcended any college campus or fashion runway. The feelings that had been simmering between them since their days at Xavier's grew stronger, more defined, in the crucible of separation. This time apart only clarified what was truly important, what had always, quietly, undeniably there. The decision to return wasn't a sudden flash, but a slow, deliberate realization. It built up over weeks and months, a growing certainty that her true calling, her authentic self, resided not in the pursuit of a normal life, but in the embrace of her extraordinary responsibilities. She missed the action, yes, but more deeply, she missed the profound sense of purpose, the feeling of her life aligning with something much larger than herself. She realized that trying to fit into a mold that wasn't truly hers was a disservice to her abilities, to her potential, and ultimately to her own heart. When she finally made the call, when she told her parents of her intention, there was a mixture of resignation and quiet understanding in their voices. They had seen the signs perhaps, the restlessness that even the most successful photo shoot couldn't quell. Returning to the X-Men felt less like a choice and more like a homecoming, a profound exhale. It was in the aftermath of her full return, with the dust of her college detour settling, that everything finally coalesced. The unspoken feelings between Jean and Scott, amplified by their time apart and the undeniable pull they felt towards each other, could no longer be contained. In a quiet moment, away from the chaos, away from the expectations, they finally revealed the depth of their romantic passion. It was a confession, a shared understanding, a beginning. They officially began to date, their relationship blossoming, rooted in years of shared experiences, profound respect, and an undeniable love that had weathered separation and doubt. This period, from her post-Xavier's retreat to her passionate return, marked a pivotal transition for Jean Grey. It wasn't just a shift in location or occupation, it was a journey from student into a young adult. She learned to balance her personal life, her burgeoning romance with Scott, with the immense, often terrifying responsibilities of being a full-time hero. It was a lesson in self-discovery, a realization that sometimes the detours in life are precisely what help us find our truest, most purposeful path home. What are your thoughts on Jean's journey during this period? How do you think these detours shape a hero's path? Share your insights in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more thoughtful explorations into the lives of our favorite characters.